The City of Phoenix celebrates Hispanic Heritage Month with a moment in history.
The City of Phoenix is celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. Hello, I'm Deborah Cedillo-Dugan. I am at the Art Gallery right downtown at Phoenix City Hall, and we're here to talk to two very special people, Mitch Menchaca and Ed Lebo. Mitch is actually the director of the Office of Arts and Culture, and Ed oversees public art. Welcome, both of you. It's great to see you.
Thanks for having us.
You know, one of my favorite topics, arts, art. So, yes, absolutely. So, Mitch, let's start off with you. Chat a little bit about big picture. So much influenced by the Hispanic community over the years. I mean, really, in this market. So let's talk about some of that contributions.
That's right. Here in Phoenix, you'll get a mix of traditional arts like ballet folklorico, mariachi. You'll see the influence in our architecture, but we do go all the way to contemporary arts with new Latino filmmakers. Theaters are popping up, doing shows in bilingual, both in English and Spanish. So you're seeing the wide gambit. And that breadth of artistry is also seen within our public art collection, with artists bringing in, again, the traditional, but also bringing in new types of art forms to influence our public art program as well.
And I got to tell you, everywhere you turn, there is art in this city, and I absolutely love it. And it's all about beautifying our city, because that's really what it's doing. It's making people to attract, to spend some money, some good tax dollars, but to enjoy the arts and culture, and just, you know what, take a moment. Let's just take a moment, put the phones down, and just appreciate where you live and your surroundings.
That's right. It adds to the quality of life of our city. We have the formal arts where people can buy a ticket and go see a show, but you also can just go outside and see the beauty of art in our community, and that's where our public art program comes in.
Absolutely. And speaking of public art, this guy, Ed Lebo, has been overseeing the public art for quite some time, many years. And I want to start off because I think we have a mutual friend, as in LBJ, Lady Bird Johnson, who actually beautified our nation's capital. And a lot of people don't realize it. It was with flowers, trees, landscapes, just all over, which is also art as well. So what are we doing here in the city of Phoenix?
Well, I'll take that Lady Bird tip, because back in 1965, she actually encouraged the President, Lyndon Johnson, to have a White House Conference on Beauty. And that White House Conference on Beauty acknowledged a couple things. It was that we are increasingly surrounded by the environment that we are designing and building. So if we're going to be in that world, we should pay attention to how beautiful these things are, but also how they function and feel in a city. Fast forward to the late 1980s, the public art program, really under the guidance of City Council in the 1980s, realized, you know what, if we are going to be a competitive modern city, public art has to be an essential part of that. And that's where the public art program was born. And since then, it has done some extraordinary things throughout the city. All council districts, all 500 square miles of this city, and the Hispanic influence has been profound. What's really interesting about cultural identities, and Mitch touched on this, is that they are not one thing, they are not fixed, and they are not static. And so as opportunities arise and people get involved in those opportunities, there's this wonderful interaction between the artists, their heritage, the modern world, and how that all comes together in projects. And we can just look at the airport, where we have some extraordinary artists who have stepped out of their studios to design things and sizes and scales that just aren't available in every other American city. So it's been a great journey.
It has been an awesome journey. And you said something, and I'm going to bring this back to you, Mitch, that I thought was interesting, because pop-up art. Now, we have so many different multifaceted, multi-layers of art. And, you know, it's not just the painting, they're the sculptures, or the photography, if you will. And you touched upon that a little bit, but is the city, are we seeing some of that too here with some pop-up art?
So Phoenix birthed the very first Friday in the nation, where you had artists come out the first of the month to be able to showcase their art, be with each other, be with the community, but then that grew. And that's here in the Central Core, but we're also seeing that model in other parts of the community. Again, I mentioned the formal and informal, where you just have community members coming together to share their experience, share their music, share their stories. And it's really exciting, because as the neighborhood sees that happening, they also get involved. So again, you can be in your community, in your neighborhood, experiencing arts, but at the same time, you can come downtown, go to a show, go to a concert. So because because I think Phoenix was a model of that first Friday, we're seeing that around the city, but also around the country. So we were the champions of that pop-up programming originally.
And I love it. Ed, I'm going back to you just real quickly. The community-minded, community spirit, as you said, Mitch, because you see a lot of murals around town, and I know I see a dialogue through those murals, whether it's through the struggle of the farm workers, working in the fields, outside of the Phoenix and where they are today, whatever that particular issue is. But I'd like you to comment on that, but I also want to steer back into some of the wonderful public art that has actually just brought some wonderful, ornated our city.
So two things. I can jump off on what Mitch said and what you have caught on to, which is that, things that begin at the grassroots have a way of spreading, and morphing into much larger kinds of events. And that's certainly the case with artists who've gotten involved in the mural movement, for instance, which at the grassroots level here in Phoenix has been really profound. But a lot of those artists then begin applying for public art projects and carrying out public commissions. And not only that, that's not restricted to Phoenix, is that they then build their credibility as public artists through the programs and opportunities that are here. And then they go on to build careers nationally, internationally. It's true for the muralists, but it's also true for the public artists. And so there is this really wonderful sort of flux between the grassroots movements of artists and desires of artists and these broader opportunities to affect the infrastructure of Phoenix and other cities.
I love it. Wonderful marriage. Wonderful marriage. So I want to really pinpoint on a couple of public art pieces, and primarily at Sky Harbor. I know we have a bridge at Camelback, and we have the wonderful Cesar Chavez sculpture, which is located out in South Phoenix. So let's talk a little bit about those particular pieces and the artists behind them.
Well, if you are using SkyTrain, this started 12 years ago probably, but if you're using SkyTrain, you get off at 44th Street, cross a connector bridge to the 44th Street station of SkyTrain, and you're walking along Daniel Martin Diaz's floor. You go up the escalator to the first level of the SkyTrain station. It's Fausto Fernandez's floor. What's interesting about these artists is that these are studio artists who have made the leap from doing relatively small scale works to enormous works. And we're talking 35, 40 feet wide by 300 feet long, perhaps in some cases. And so it's a combination of here's an opportunity to step outside the studio, but also bring what you know, bring your expertise to this new world of opportunity and also design.
Walk us through that terrazzo floor. We've all walked on it. If you've gone to Phoenix Sky Harbor, I guarantee you have walked on that floor. There's a story to be told, and I've actually know this artist. I've interviewed him years ago when he did that piece. So it's a very interesting story.
Well, there's always an evolution that artists go through when they jump into a new medium. None of the artists who have worked on those SkyTrain projects ever had done any terrazzo works. And so they work with our team in-house, but also the aviation team and the team that involves architects, engineers, but also terrazzo specialists. So there's this added element. When you're working in a studio as an artist, it is often a solo gig. There is no solo in public art. You're working with teams. And so many of those artists had to go through this transformation in thinking, I will say, from their original design on paper to understand how that design is going to be felt by somebody walking and pacing their way along it. So there's a real change in thinking that occurs. And the other thing that I do want to say is that that's a case where the artist designs the work, but then turns that work over to these expert fabricators who very honestly are working on their hands and knees to craft that work to the level of integrity and quality that the artist intended. And so it's a multi-step process that makes for the beauty that people experience in those spaces.
It's kind of like the architect, and then you have all the builders that do all the different elements of, the fabrication. Mitch, I'm sure you've seen the Cesar Chavez sculptor, the fabulous Cesar Chavez sculptor in South Phoenix. What are your impressions about that?
It's amazing to have that piece in the community that can connect with such a leader as Cesar Chavez, and so we're excited to embody that within art. And I'm lucky because in my office I have the mock-up of the actual sculpture, so I get to have that experience. But it's just great to have the community have that ownership of such an important person in Hispanic and Latino history in South Phoenix. And so we're really glad that our program was able to work with the community to develop that piece.
And I might add, Ed, I'm sure you know a little bit about the artist who actually created that, another fabulous Hispanic artist contributing to the beauty of the city.
Well, Zarco Guerrero, is well known for his masks, extraordinary works, and this was an opportunity for him to do a full-scale figure. And you also had Martin Moreno, who was working with that team as part of some of the relief sculptures that are part of that Cesar Chavez Plaza that's there.
I love it. And Teresa is Villegas?
Teresa Villegas.
Yes, another woman artist. It's always, we want to be very, very inclusive, who was also participatory too at the Phoenix Sky Harbor.
Very much so. The South Concourse at T3 that goes out to the Delta. If you're flying Delta, it's that concourse that takes you out there, and Teresa designed a beautiful floor. Again, part of the program of involving artists who had never done these kinds of projects before in creating a beautiful space.
Getting out of their box. Camelback, is that area too? Is that another Hispanic artist?
Camelback Underpass. It was Roberto Bahar and Rosario Marquardt, R&R Studios. They've done a wide range of projects nationally and internationally, and we've been lucky to have them here. And I will say that when SkyTrain opens up to Rental Car Center Station, there will be a work there for people to see, and it's yet to be opened.
Fabulous. So again, closing statements about our Hispanic influence and arts here in the city. Mitch, would you like to comment?
Yeah, I think that, when you come to a community like Phoenix, we're not a one-size-fits-all community, and neither is our art. So again, you will get that enrichment of traditional arts, especially in the Hispanic and Latino community, but there's also that contemporary vibe, and we've got everything from both ends and in the middle. So when you're in Phoenix, make sure that you're participating in our arts community, going to our festivals, going to our events, seeing our public art, and just really getting to experience Phoenix through the arts.
I love it. Ed, any last comments?
The last comment is something we began with, is that a lot of the work that occurs in cities is really quite special. Cities have this power, a gravitational power to attract talent, and it becomes a kind of blender so that nobody stays the same. It's not static, but all of these identities evolve with the opportunities that are available. And I'd like to think that the public art program has really been sort of a great spark plug for new opportunities for all artists.
Absolutely. I love driving the city and just enjoying all that public art. And don't forget, lots of public art bridges that we drive every single day on the 51 or whatnot. So, gentlemen, thank you so very much. Again, one of my favorite topics for the city of Phoenix. You guys are doing a great job. Thanks for taking a moment with us to talk about the contributions from Hispanic artists to help beautify our city. And don't forget flamenco and all the other dances that Mitch also made reference to is all art. So on that note, I'm going to give you a little stomp because I do dance flamenco. So thanks again for joining us. And again, celebrating Hispanic heritage, I'm Deborah Cedillo Dugan.